Hello, everyone, and welcome to Queerly in Love. Um, I have re-recorded the first episode several times now, and genuinely wish that I could be recording this different circumstances, better, better environment in Minneapolis, and not for selfish reasons, but because I just want peace and safety for my neighbors. Um, that being said, um, me pivoting with the podcast is something I want to do. Um, the first episode, I was originally going to come on here and just share about the name change and why I'm shifting the pod. And, ultimately, in many ways, I am shifting the pod for reasons like this. I want to be able to talk about more than just weddings. I think that there is so much to share beyond that. Um, you know, for queer people, like there is so much beyond that in our identity, in our communities, in um, even the things that we face, like just to even be able to get to a spot of having a wedding, right? And so I want to talk about that, but I also like the goal of this podcast has always been to try to do as much good as possible, and that remains true. Um, I am reaching out to new guests, trying to get some helpful information and speakers onto the podcast to address what's going on in Minneapolis right now. And just because I know that I do have listeners that are not in Minneapolis or Minnesota, who may be unaware. To put things simply, even though this is anything but a simple situation, there are over 2,000 ICE agents here in Minnesota who are kidnapping and abducting people and splitting apart families. Just period. Um, it is just absolutely horrendous. I witnessed my first raid just a few days ago. They took one of my neighbors, and whatever you think the news is sharing, a lot of it is getting it wrong. It is they are brutal. They are taking citizens, they are taking anyone and everyone with no care in the world. Um, so just for some context for those who might be observing from afar, I do think it's important to mention that, I went back and forth on if I should even continue with the podcast. And ultimately, the reason that I decided to keep it and to move forward and to keep putting out episodes is not for my personal gain, but in some ways, I guess you could say it is because I think that community is so incredibly important. I think that continuing to build community for queer folks and have conversations and give spaces for us to get to know one another is really important because ultimately that is what is going to get us through. We need each other. We need to build each other up in community so that we can go out and do things for other parts of our community. Um, I genuinely believe that is important. And I also think that with the murder of Renee Good, um, and so many others, right? Keith Porter, so many other people experiencing violence at the hand of ICE. But I think Renee Good has been on my mind so much because of the atrocities, but because she was a queer woman. Um, and I think she is a reminder of why the L comes first in LGBTQ. Um, for those who don't know, the L didn't always come first in in that acronym, um, but was kind of symbolically moved there because of all of the work and activism that lesbians did, particularly during the AIDS pandemic. But I would argue continues to be so to this day. You know, a lot of queer people all over are, but I think I think Renee understood the assignment, and I think without knowing her or, or speaking for her, like I can imagine this is what she would want. She would want our community to keep banding together, to keep supporting each other, and to keep going out and doing the work of protecting our neighbors. And so, um, this isn't really much of an episode, but I just wanted to say that it is so important for us to be in community, and it is so important for us all to find our own ways to get involved in what's happening. I am going to share some resources in the show notes of this episode, places you can learn to get involved, places you can donate to, um, because I firmly believe that there's a place for everybody, whether it's donating $5, whether it's showing up for your neighbors with groceries, whether it's observing and recording what's happening, like whatever it looks like for you, there is a place. And I want to be using whatever platform I have to make sure that we are all getting involved. Um, I was also speaking with a friend yesterday who um, reminded me that joy, and particularly queer joy, is an act of resistance, and I think that that remains true. That we need to continue to use that, um, while simultaneously being reminded from other activists and organizers um, who have been in this longer than me and are way more knowledgeable than me, reminding you that in order for us to make real change, we have to make it sustainable for ourselves. We have to find moments of rest. We have to fight for moments of joy in order to keep going, to be sustainable, to keep showing up. Um, because, like many things in the world, this is not going away. If anything, they are ramping up and continuing to do more by the minute, which means that we are in a marathon here, not a sprint. And I say that because it is a reminder to myself, but also to all of us. Please keep showing up. And also remember to find moments where you can take care of yourself. And I think that's a hope for this podcast as well, to be little moments of joy, little moments of community, things to just hopefully be some moments of light in the incredibly dark times we are witnessing. And I need that reminder too. And so I hope that you will continue to join me. Thank you so much for all of you who have continued to support me over the last couple years of Queerly Beloved. And, you know, I can talk about that more at a later time, when hopefully ice has fully melted and or burned to the ground. Um, but just know that ultimately, like, Queerly Beloved is not dying. The switch to Queerly in Love is a growth. It is an expansion. It is a hope to continue to do more good, to talk about more things, to bring in more community. Um, and so I hope that you will continue to come along with me on this journey. And like I said, hoping to have some really, really cool guests on here in the coming weeks. The goal is to release episodes every Wednesday, although you'll see that this is not coming out on a Wednesday. Just because, like I mentioned, things have had to shift and pivot so many times. Um, and that's okay. That I would want nothing more than to pivot and try to figure out how to best show up. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and please, like, in community, we are stronger, and I am calling on LGBTQ community allies, white folks especially, like it's time for us to lock in, it's time for us to show up, and it's time for us to be the strong community that I know we are. Like, Minneapolis is amazing, but like also knowing so many of the lovely queer people in Minneapolis, like we show up for our people. We take care of us, we take care of our neighbors, and so I am imploring you to continue to get involved. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit stuffed up. But keep showing up. My DMs are open. If you're looking for more ways to get involved, please reach out. There are so many amazing efforts happening right now, and everybody. Um, I am continuing to find new ways to get involved in my local neighborhood. I invite you to do the same. Again, reach out if you need help doing that. Um, but my hope is to really also continue to create safe spaces to elevate queer voices and to be a place where we feel like we can continue to band together. Um, so thanks again from Zool and I, if you're watching via video, for tuning in. I do have an episode scheduled for the upcoming week. It's a really interesting conversation with my good friend Rena, just about the intersection of culture and queerness. And I think that's a really important thing to be thinking about right now as well. So I'll stop rambling. Thank you again for your support. And again, my DMs are open. Reach out if you have some things that you'd like to share in terms of community resources. And I'll be sure to pass those along as well. So clearly, I'm in love with all of you. I hope you have a great day.